guys, what's going on? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 24 of the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. Today I'm going to be continuing my series of reviews on the Scott Pilgrim comic book series by Brian Lee O'Malley from Oni Press. Today I will be talking about Scott Pilgrim and the Infinite Sadness. This is volume 3 of the Scott Pilgrim series, and this is the best volume that I've read so far. This is much better than volume 1 or volume 2. I have a lot of problems with the first two volumes, and those problems are much more diminished in this volume, or they are gone completely. Number one, the character of Scott Pilgrim is suddenly not as unlikable as he was in volumes 1 and 2. He's still a little bit of a slacker, a little bit of a freeloader, but he's not morally reprehensible like he was in the previous two volumes. There is one scene where I feel like he is completely redeemed. He goes up to this girl that he was two-timing. He was dating her while he was also going after Ramona Flowers, and then he goes up to her and apologizes for his behavior. He doesn't have anything to gain by doing this. Now later, it does kind of come back and it aids him during a crucial moment in his life, but he doesn't know that that's going to happen. He's just apologizing to her, and he's being a decent guy. And part of it may be that we get to see Scott humbled a little bit by getting to see his ex-girlfriend, who just completely turns him into a puddle of goo every time she comes on board. She comes in and she'll just say his name, and then he's a nervous wreck for days. And I wasn't sure if getting to see so much of her was actually going to make me care about Scott. I kind of thought going into this, when we would see a lot of her, that I was still going to hate Scott, even though we would get to see this other character that we hate even more. Turns out, I do kind of feel for Scott a little bit throughout this book, but I think a lot of it has to do with him apologizing to Knives Chow, and also just not being as much of a jerk. And we know that he's a jerk. The characters know that he's a jerk. Brian Lee O'Malley knows that he's a jerk. But I think finally we're getting to see him turn around a little bit. And it's not like a light switch moment. It's not like, okay, suddenly he's a decent dude. It's a slow progression. I don't expect that he's going to completely lose all of these unfavorable attributes that he's had throughout the series, being a loafer, being a slacker, a freeloader. I suspect he's still going to be those things by the end of this series, but we're seeing that he's taking responsibility for some of his less than noble things that he's done in this series so far, and I really like that. Also, I complained a little bit in my review of Volume 2 that with the first two volumes, the plot of the series wasn't very present in those volumes. If you asked someone, what is the plot of the Scott Pilgrim series, they would say, Scott Pilgrim starts dating this girl, Ramona Flowers, and he has to fight her 7 evil exes in order to win the right to date her. And in the first two volumes, like 80% of both volumes doesn't have anything to do with that. It's mostly Scott hanging out with his friends. He is in a band and he plays shows and stuff, and he gets to know Ramona a little bit, which is good. Character building is very important when you are doing a series, especially if it's a creator-owned series where nobody knows these characters except for the creator. If you're doing a new X-Men story, everyone knows the X-Men because they've been around for 50 years. But if you are doing a brand new series like Brian Lee O'Malley was with Scott Pilgrim, then you're going to have to develop these characters. You're going to have to make people care for them. And that's what he was doing in the first two volumes, but I feel like the ratio of character building to plot building was way unbalanced, and it needed to be a little bit more 50-50 instead of 80-20. Here, we already get to know these characters. We've gotten to know them over the course of two stories, and so now, him fighting Ramona's evil ex, Dylan, I believe is his name. I could be way off. It's the vegan guy with psychic powers. I can't remember his name. I think it's Dylan. But he's also dating Scott's evil ex, so it's kind of like a Brotherhood of Evil Mutants thing where they've been seeding mentions of this girl Envy for the last couple of volumes, and now suddenly she shows up at the same time that Ramona's third evil ex shows up, and it's kind of a big deal. It's kind of like, whoa, this is a really huge thing. And so it spends a good portion of page space on this rivalry with this particular evil ex. It doesn't spend like the entire book on one single fight, but it does spend a lot more time on this particular challenge for Scott than it did on either of the other two. And I was really happy to see that. And I'm kind of worried now. There's 3 more volumes left in this series. I'm really afraid that the next 3 are not going to measure up to this one, because I really love this one a lot, and I'm having trouble seeing how this series can get better. Now, obviously, we're going to have 3 more bad guys, and each one, in theory, will be more intense and more of a serious threat than the one before. But this guy, he was pretty powerful, so I don't know how they're going to keep doing that for the next 3 volumes. But overall, I really enjoyed the Infinite Sadness. That is completely sold me on this series. I am much more excited to read the next 3 volumes. Before, I was just kind of doing it out of obligation. I thought, well, I got this one book, so I might as well go ahead and check these others out from the library. And then I was just kind of meh on volumes 1 and 2. I'm really on board now. So highly looking forward to reading the next few volumes, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day, and I will see you tomorrow with another video in the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day, and I'll catch you later.